Today I'm going to talk about two online assessment tools. And I chose these two tools because they're the ones I use in my classroom the most. They're different and I use them for different reasons. We're going to discuss Quizlet and Kahoot. And I like these both. They're a lot of fun. Quizlet is the one that I use more for summative assessments. And here's an example on my screen of the most recent one I used with my class. It's called 1 Point Perspective Vocabulary. We're in the middle of our sculpture unit, and I want them to be using the words that artists use to discuss the work that we're doing. And what I like about Quizlet is it's easy to use. I put in the information that I wanted them to know, and it automatically sets up everything for you. So my students have access. I just put the link to the Quizlet on my blog, and then students have access to flashcards that they can use to learn the information. And I can also include visuals as well to help them understand what's going on. So, they can see visually and read as well. There is a learn function, which allows them to take like a fake quiz, basically. It doesn't count towards them. It just helps them, try to challenge themselves to see what they know. So lines that are equally distant apart along their length, if you give the wrong answer, it comes back and helps you. It shows you the correct answer and tells you what you did wrong and moves you on from there. So this one is fun because not only is there an opportunity to practice your flashcards, you can spell the words, practice spelling if that's something that you want your students to be able to do. It has an auditory function, so students who are, would prefer the auditory mode of learning. There's matching. There's even a fun gravity game where it's almost like playing a video game where they see the vocabulary word float down and then you have to type in the definition. And so if they get it right, they move on. If they get it wrong, it provides them another opportunity with moving forward. But what I like about this is that it does track your student work and how they study so that you can see how your students are using your tool. You can see all the terms that you've used. You can see how the students are using them. Students can see how they've done, how often they've missed the answers, what they're doing as well. And it's just a great assessment tool. The data that you get from it can be used for summative grades. And you can also use this for formative as well if you want to see where they're at. But normally if I'm going to do some kind of formative assessment with my students, I would use a Kahoot. And Kahoot is I like to think of it as an online gaming tool. So basically the teacher creates the questions and there's a couple different ways that you can play. Students who have one-to-one devices can play the traditional way, but they've also changed it recently. They've had a lot of positive changes recently where you can play as a team. And when you play, the Kahoot generates a code so that you can have the students will just put in the game code. It's starting. Put in the game code that you want them to play, and they can just type that right into their devices, and then the game starts. And the one thing that I like about Kahoot is that it has fun, obviously, you just heard, fun music. You can time the questions. So the questions pop up with the screen, but the answers pop up on the devices. So students, use their devices as clickers and they pick the answer they think is the right one. And then when the time is up for that question, it shows the correct answer. It shows a bar graph that lets you know how many students answered the question and which answer they chose. And that shows to the whole class, but not by individual person. So it's anonymous, so there's a little bit of that stigma taken off. But as a teacher, I can see very quickly if they understand the concepts or if they don't. I can also use that data at the end. It does save the data if you have, told it to do that. And then you can go back and look. But usually when I use Kahoot, I use it as a kind of an on the fly or like a ticket out the door, end of the day, quick, 5 minutes. Let's see where we're at. Who knows what kind of assessment. And that way I can alter my learning for the next day based on the results of this really fun game that the kids played that they literally cheer when I tell them we're going to do it. That's how much fun it is for them. So these are similar in that they both provide some data, and they're both ways for students to assess what they know. Definitely, I think Quizlet is better for learning. It's easier to use at home, although Kahoot is making some changes for that. But I would definitely say Quizlet has more options in that sense. But if you want more bang for your buck as far as engagement and excitement with your students, you would definitely use Kahoot. So I hope you give one of these a try. They're definitely not the only assessment tools out there, but it's a good place to start. So let me know how it goes.